Welcome to the BareMetalCyber podcast. Each episode brings you timely insights, expert analysis, and actionable intelligence to keep you ahead in the ever-changing world of cybersecurity. Subscribe to the newsletter at BareMetalCyber.com to stay connected. And don't forget to visit cyberauthor.me, your one-stop destination for a wide collection of bestseller cybersecurity books. Equip yourself with knowledge from industry experts and stay ahead of the threats. Let's get started with today's topic. Firewalls and Frontlines, Cybersecurity in the Age of Digital Warfare. Cyber warfare has fundamentally reshaped the landscape of global conflict, turning keyboards and code into weapons that rival tanks and bombs in their destructive potential. Today's battlefield isn't defined by geography, but by digital vulnerabilities, leaving nations, businesses, and ordinary citizens alike caught in the crossfire. As state-sponsored hackers blend espionage with sabotage, critical infrastructure stands exposed, and international norms struggle to keep pace. Navigating this precarious digital frontline demands new strategies, innovative defenses, and a recognition that cybersecurity is no longer just a technical challenge, it's an urgent societal imperative. The digital battlefield, where wars are now fought. In today's cybersecurity landscape, the stereotypical spy with a trench coat and fedora has been replaced by a faceless hacker hunched over a keyboard, likely fueled by energy drinks. State-sponsored cyber attacks have become the modern equivalent of espionage, serving as covert methods of extracting sensitive intelligence without ever leaving the digital shadows. Nation-states engage in these clandestine digital maneuvers with plausible deniability, making attribution exceedingly difficult. Instead of fingerprints and smoking guns, analysts must sift through cryptic code fragments and elusive metadata, which rarely offer clear-cut answers to the all-important question, who exactly pressed enter? Notorious cyber attacks like Stuxnet, NotPetya, and SolarWinds have showcased how governments now prefer keyboards over conventional weaponry. Stuxnet, an elegant piece of malware, was crafted precisely to sabotage Iranian nuclear centrifuges, slipping in unnoticed and causing physical damage through digital code. NotPetya initially appeared as ransomware, but was actually a devastating cyber weapon aimed at Ukraine, cleverly disguised as simple criminal activity. Then there's SolarWinds, where adversaries stealthily slip malicious code into software updates, quietly accessing sensitive government and corporate data across the globe. These incidents demonstrate how cyber operations can quietly precede, complement, or even replace traditional military campaigns, reshaping the very nature of modern conflict. Cyber attacks have also evolved into critical components of hybrid warfare doctrines, strategies blending conventional warfare with digital assaults and psychological manipulation. Countries like Russia and China have mastered this dark art, orchestrating sophisticated campaigns that couple cyber attacks with targeted disinformation, amplifying confusion and mistrust. Russia's interference in elections around the world combines hacking efforts to leak confidential documents alongside troll armies spreading divisive misinformation. China's approach often involves stealing intellectual property through cyber espionage, while simultaneously influencing public opinion through carefully managed information campaigns. Adding another layer of complexity, proxy groups and cyber mercenaries blur lines of attribution further. These shadowy actors act as digital middlemen, performing operations that governments prefer to deny officially. Attribution is deliberately clouded. Governments gain plausible deniability by outsourcing cyber operations to ostensibly independent hacker groups or private cybersecurity contractors. This murky arrangement makes it nearly impossible to conclusively link a cyber attack back to a specific nation, allowing geopolitical aggression without direct confrontation or responsibility. Critical infrastructure, such as power grids, water purification systems, hospitals, and transportation networks, has become a favored target in cyber warfare. Attacking infrastructure achieves strategic objectives without firing a physical shot, causing widespread panic and disruption. Operational technology and industrial control systems, once thought safely hidden behind isolated networks, have proven surprisingly vulnerable to cyber attacks. Hackers penetrating these systems can shut down electricity supplies, contaminate drinking water, or halt medical services. Events capable of paralyzing entire communities, inciting chaos, and spreading fear. These digital strikes on infrastructure often have broader strategic ripple effects, impacting public confidence, economic stability, and even national security posture. For example, Russia's cyber attacks on Ukraine's power grid left entire regions in the dark and demonstrated the vulnerability of modern utilities to cyber sabotage. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware incident in the United States highlighted how quickly digital disruptions can cascade into fuel shortages, economic turmoil, and public panic, even though it originated as a criminal act rather than a state-sanctioned assault. This underscores how interconnected and fragile modern societies are in the face of digital aggression. In this evolving digital battlefield, the traditional rules of war struggle to keep pace. Unlike physical warfare, cyber warfare lacks defined international agreements akin to the Geneva Conventions, leaving cyber combatants to operate in a legal gray zone. Civilians, corporations, and governments are all fair game, vulnerable to attacks without clear legal recourse or rules of engagement. Military doctrines worldwide have adapted accordingly, explicitly incorporating cyber capabilities into strategic plans, officially recognizing cyberspace as a combat domain alongside land, sea, air, and space. This intentional blurring of espionage and warfare means cyber operations rarely provoke conventional military responses, allowing aggressors more freedom and ambiguity in their actions. Without clear-cut definitions or universally agreed-upon rules, digital warfare unfolds with a lawless quality, making it both unpredictable and extraordinarily dangerous. It's as if modern warfare ditched the rulebook, switched the battlefield to the cloud, and replaced soldiers with software, where every click can spark conflict and every packet could hold a payload far more explosive than any traditional weapon. Civilian collateral, businesses and individuals under fire. While nation-states wage sophisticated cyber wars, businesses and individuals increasingly find themselves inadvertently trapped in the digital crossfire. Corporate espionage isn't limited to stealing trade secrets between competitors anymore. It has escalated to a geopolitical chess match where intellectual property theft is quietly leveraged to tip the scales of global power. Countries like China deploy advanced persistent threat groups to infiltrate everything from defense contractors to cutting-edge biotechnology firms, silently siphoning valuable research and proprietary information. Companies often discover breaches only after their competitive edge has mysteriously eroded, long after sensitive data has silently vanished into foreign hands. Even businesses confident in their own defenses often overlook the vulnerabilities hidden within their supply chains. Recent cyber attacks such as SolarWinds demonstrated just how easily trusted third-party vendors can become unwitting conduits for attackers. When hackers compromise one small company, the infiltration can ripple through an entire industry, making small suppliers the unwitting patient zero in widespread breaches. Unfortunately, despite these high-profile incidents, supply chain security still often lacks adequate visibility, priority, and investment, leaving organizations dangerously exposed to threats they may not even see coming. Ransomware, once merely a lucrative criminal endeavor, has evolved into a geopolitical weapon capable of spreading chaos on command. Cyber-criminal groups like Conti and Revil often operate with tacit tolerance or even covert support from states that benefit from the resulting disruptions. By targeting critical societal institutions, such as hospitals, schools, and municipal governments, attackers amplify panic and uncertainty, creating immediate crises for leaders and policymakers. The decision to pay a ransom is no longer purely a financial one. It carries serious national security implications, influencing whether other institutions become future targets. Beyond the corporate and institutional level, ordinary people find themselves increasingly exposed to the crossfire, their personal data becoming collateral damage in cyber conflicts. From phishing schemes designed to deceive individuals into revealing sensitive information, to identity theft and malicious disinformation campaigns aimed at manipulating public opinion, everyday citizens face relentless digital threats. The traditional line separating civilian from combatant dissolves in cyberspace, turning any individual with an internet connection into a potential victim or unwitting accomplice in broader geopolitical cyber battles. This reality has elevated cybersecurity from a specialist concern to a fundamental life skill necessary for everyone. Understanding how to recognize phishing attacks, secure personal devices, and maintain strong digital hygiene is now as crucial as knowing basic safety protocols, like looking both ways before crossing a street. As cyber attacks increasingly target both critical infrastructure and personal devices alike, educating the public on digital risks becomes a pressing societal priority. After all, in an age where your smartphone can unwittingly become a weapon against you, cybersecurity isn't just an information technology problem, it's everyone's daily responsibility. The defense dilemma: building cyber resilience in wartime. Defending cyberspace today feels a bit like trying to patch holes in a submarine as the water pours in. You're never entirely sure which vulnerability to tackle first. This scenario becomes even more complicated because national defense increasingly depends on networks that are privately owned and operated. Companies now find themselves on the digital front lines, with their infrastructure serving as critical national security assets, even if they never signed up for battle duty. However, cooperation is far from seamless, as trust issues, legal roadblocks, and liability concerns hinder effective information sharing between governments and corporations. The need for cohesive collaboration has sparked the rise of joint cyber exercises and tabletop drills, where government agencies like the Department of Homeland Security, the National Security Agency, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency team up with private sector partners. Think of it as cybersecurity's version of war games, except no one gets to wear camouflage. These exercises not only strengthen defensive capabilities but also foster mutual understanding and trust, crucial elements for timely and effective responses when facing real cyber threats. As the battlefield shifts, modernization has become non-negotiable, especially when legacy systems act like ticking time bombs just waiting to explode. Outdated software and hardware present tempting targets for adversaries, often offering an embarrassingly easy point of entry. Recognizing this vulnerability, the zero-trust approach has transitioned from buzzword to official national security strategy. Zero trust means exactly what it says: trust no one and verify everything, a cybersecurity version of a particularly cynical philosophy professor. Organizations are rapidly investing in robust endpoint protection, cloud security solutions, and identity management tools to reinforce their digital perimeter. Yet while these tools promise greater resilience, they also introduce new complexity. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, cybersecurity's flashy new recruits, offer unparalleled speed in threat detection but also occasionally cause false positives or miss subtle attacks altogether. Just as artificial intelligence-powered tools can spot anomalies swiftly, adversaries can employ similar technologies to automate and disguise their own intrusions, creating a digital arms race where defenders must constantly innovate. To successfully navigate this evolving threat landscape, the need for specialized training has skyrocketed. Cyber skills are now considered strategic resources, as valuable as traditional military assets like tanks or aircraft. Recognizing this, countries are significantly expanding their military cyber commands, investing heavily to build an elite cadre of digital warriors. However, this rapid growth faces a major challenge: a critical shortage of skilled cybersecurity professionals. This shortage isn't merely inconvenient, it represents a severe national security vulnerability. Addressing this gap requires alignment between civilian and military cyber professionals, breaking down traditional barriers that separate private sector innovation from government expertise. Collaborative training programs and shared education initiatives are becoming essential tools for creating a robust, cohesive cyber defense workforce. Think of it as cybersecurity cross-training, military precision meeting civilian ingenuity, creating a powerhouse defense against digital adversaries. Regulating digital warfare in real time has proven equally complex. Legislation continually struggles to keep pace with technological evolution, often resembling a tortoise chasing a particularly fast hare. Debates rage around controversial strategies such as hacking back, allowing organizations to actively retaliate against attackers, an idea appealing in principle, but fraught with ethical, legal, and strategic complications. The challenge lies in balancing aggressive defense strategies without inadvertently sparking unintended escalation or international crises. Meanwhile, data protection regulations like Europe's General Data Protection Regulation and California's Consumer Privacy Act, along with various cyber sanctions, have created a tangled web of rules that organizations must navigate. This fragmented legal environment demands policies flexible enough to address both offensive and defensive cyber operations. Crafting coherent, real-time regulatory responses in a world where threats evolve faster than lawmakers can react remains an ongoing, thorny challenge, one that requires constant vigilance and adaptability from both lawmakers and defenders alike. The global cyber arms race. If you thought traditional arms races involving missiles and tanks were scary, imagine an arms race where the weapons are lines of code delivered at lightning speed without warning. Today's malware isn't the amateurish, clunky nuisance of the early internet era. It's modular, scalable, and often quietly sponsored by nation-states with deep pockets and big ambitions. Malware tools now come like Lego sets, where attackers can pick, choose, and snap together components for a custom-built cyber weapon. This flexibility makes cyber warfare cheaper, stealthier, and much harder to detect, until it's far too late. Even more troubling is that powerful cyber weapons aren't exclusively locked away in government arsenals. Many are freely available through open-source projects, initially created for legitimate cybersecurity research. These dual-use tools, like penetration testing frameworks Metasploit and Cobalt Strike, are designed to strengthen defenses but can easily be twisted to nefarious ends. It's as if someone handed out Swiss Army knives to everyone and said, "Use responsibly," trusting no one would think to misuse them. Spoiler alert, they did. Governments around the globe also quietly stockpile software vulnerabilities, digital holes they can exploit later, rather than disclose them and help secure systems. While this practice provides powerful offensive capabilities, it leaves the wider public exposed to vulnerabilities that cyber criminals are equally eager to exploit. Additionally, vibrant underground exploit marketplaces further muddy the waters, blurring the line between crime and warfare. On these marketplaces, malicious actors trade digital weapons like commodities, often indifferent to whether the buyer is a criminal syndicate or a nation-state seeking plausible deniability. In response to escalating cyber threats, international alliances like NATO and intelligence-sharing partnerships like Five Eyes have significantly expanded into digital operations. What once involved military exercises on land, sea, and air now also involves coordinated cyber drills and strategic information sharing about potential digital threats. Cyber diplomacy, which used to sound like an oxymoron, has emerged as a key pillar of foreign policy. Negotiators now wrestle over digital norms, seeking to prevent cyber conflicts from spiraling out of control. But enforcement of these norms remains elusive, as agreements are honored about as reliably as most New Year's resolutions. Despite the growing necessity of cross-border cooperation, international collaboration in cyberspace is frustratingly slow and fragile, often hindered by mutual suspicion, conflicting interests, and political rivalry. Even when countries agree in theory, practical coordination rarely survives the realities of geopolitical competition. This fragile situation creates significant strategic ambiguity, leaving nations uncertain about how their rivals might interpret a cyber operation. A seemingly minor cyber intrusion can escalate rapidly into unintended conflict, especially since digital attacks ripple instantly and unpredictably through interconnected global systems. The lack of clarity and accepted boundaries means nations are navigating cyberspace without a clear map, risking accidental escalation. Imagine a scenario akin to a cyber Pearl Harbor, a sudden, devastating surprise attack against critical infrastructure that plunges an entire nation into chaos overnight. Although currently hypothetical, this scenario remains worryingly plausible, given the absence of widely accepted international norms and clear strategic red lines. Adding fuel to the fire, emerging cyber powers, such as Iran, North Korea, and smaller states, have significantly ramped up their cyber capabilities. Cyber warfare levels the playing field, allowing weaker states to punch far above their weight through asymmetric warfare. Digital weapons lower the barrier to conflict dramatically. No need for expensive jets or tanks, when a handful of skilled hackers can cause disproportionate havoc with minimal resources. Further complicating matters, cyber mercenaries and criminal syndicates thrive in this lawless digital landscape, willing to offer their services to the highest bidder. Governments frequently outsource cyber attacks to such groups, gaining plausible deniability and complicating attribution. This mix of state actors, private hackers for hire, and transnational criminal enterprises makes the digital arms race dangerously unpredictable, with participants more interested in profit and chaos than geopolitical stability. Future Frontlines: what comes after Firewalls? Imagine waking up one day to discover that all your encrypted messages, every embarrassing text, sensitive email, and confidential file have suddenly been laid bare. And quantum computing threatens exactly that scenario, promising to render today's strongest encryption methods, like RSA and ECC, about as secure as leaving a spare key under the welcome mat. Shor's algorithm, a quantum computing breakthrough, has demonstrated the potential to crack current cryptographic standards, leading governments and organizations into a frantic race to find viable post-quantum cryptographic alternatives. Unfortunately, post-quantum cryptography isn't fully baked yet, leaving a worrisome gap between current protections and future solutions. Meanwhile, governments and adversaries alike are quietly harvesting encrypted data today, planning to crack it open when quantum computing inevitably matures. This creates a ticking digital time bomb. Information considered safely hidden today could become tomorrow's devastating leak. Welcome to the cryptographic arms race, where the urgency is high, stakes enormous, and timing critical. But quantum computing isn't the only next-generation worry keeping cybersecurity experts awake at night. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming cyber combat into a battle of algorithms. Artificial intelligence has already been conscripted into cyber defense roles, capable of rapidly analyzing massive data sets and spotting malicious activities far faster than any human analyst. Unfortunately, the bad guys have their own clever artificial intelligences, capable of crafting malware that morphs and adapts its signature on the fly like digital shapeshifters, making detection frustratingly difficult. This leads us to a looming scenario where the front lines of cybersecurity become machine-on-machine warfare. Picture armies of autonomous systems continuously battling, defending, and countering at speeds incomprehensible to human observers. On the defensive side, the real challenge for artificial intelligence is avoiding false positives, alert fatigue, and the digital equivalent of crying wolf, because too many false alarms can cause defenders to become complacent just when vigilance is most critical. Amidst these technological upheavals, cybersecurity can no longer remain the exclusive domain of information technology professionals or digital warriors. It must become a fundamental civic duty woven into the fabric of daily life. Just as schools conduct fire drills, routine cyber drills should be commonplace, teaching children and adults alike to recognize phishing attempts, avoid social engineering, and maintain healthy skepticism online. Social engineering attacks, which rely on human error rather than software flaws, are best countered by creating a digitally literate populace capable of spotting manipulation. Indeed, the strength of democracies now directly depends on widespread digital literacy. Foreign adversaries regularly deploy misinformation campaigns designed to sow division and doubt, weaponizing social media to erode trust. Educated and informed citizens, capable of discerning authentic from manipulated content, serve as a nation's strongest defense. Cybersecurity education isn't just about safeguarding individual data. It is a critical component of protecting democratic institutions themselves. Finally, preparing for future cyber threats means embracing the uncomfortable truth that catastrophic breaches are not just possible, but inevitable. Effective contingency planning should anticipate worst-case scenarios, imagining disruptions to elections, healthcare services, banking systems, and critical infrastructure. National-level incident response coordination is increasingly vital because cyber warfare has the potential to paralyze entire sectors, spreading panic and economic turmoil instantly. In this environment, resilience must replace the illusion of invincibility. The objective isn't preventing every single breach, that's impossible, but rather ensuring that systems and societies can swiftly recover when inevitable attacks occur. Robust backup plans, redundancy, and swift response capabilities are no longer nice to have, they are essential to navigating a future where digital chaos is only one well-crafted exploit away. Conclusion. In this era of relentless digital warfare, resilience is our most valuable asset, demanding a cultural shift towards cybersecurity as a civic responsibility rather than a niche technical specialty. The rise of quantum computing, artificial intelligence, driven cyber conflicts, and evolving state tactics ensures the threats we face tomorrow will be even more sophisticated than those of today. Nations must build robust cyber arsenals, strengthen public-purpose partnerships, and prepare populations to detect digital deception at every turn. Ultimately, survival in the digital age hinges on our ability to continuously adapt, innovate, and maintain vigilance against threats emerging from shadows unseen. Thanks for tuning in to the BareMetalCyber podcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at BareMetalCyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for bestseller cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure, stay vigilant.